Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. So I'd like to paint a little bit of a picture for everyone. We have already purchased border wall materials. Okay, lots of border wall materials. And they were basically abandoned by the Biden administration. And so they're just sitting in Arizona and other places unused, and they're collecting dust in the desert. Here's kind of the kicker for everyone is that they're not just sitting there. They're actually protected by a fence. So if anybody sees the irony in that, I do, and I actually saw it personally. So yeah, the administration did everything with these materials except actually build a wall.
What if I told you that millions of dollars in border wall materials are sitting in the desert, unused, rusting, and guarded by a fence? No, seriously, that's exactly what Senator Joni Ernst is calling out, and today, I'm breaking down the bizarre reality behind this massive contradiction in U.S. border policy. Let's dive in. In a recent Senate hearing, Senator Joni Ernst painted a vivid
So we're talking about $250 million worth of materials that were purchased. They are paid for, and they could have bolstered our security, but instead we've just left them there to waste. And every month, and this is to add insult to injury, every month the Army Corps of Engineers spends $160,000 to store these materials, 20,822 unused panels. So these materials were eventually auctioned off by the Biden administration, and those that purchased the materials paid pennies on the dollar to buy those items, and that's a huge loss for our taxpayers. So, Mr. Cuccinelli, why don't we start with you, please? Can you talk about the role that physical barriers play in securing our border and the message that it's sending to the cartels and other bad or illicit groups when the federal government just leaves these materials unused, they're rusting away in the desert, and how we should be thinking about border barriers in the future with the incoming Trump administration?
So thank you, Senator, for that question. First of all, the intentional abandonment of the border wall materials was part of the open borders policy and narrative. It was a visual part of that narrative. And unfortunately, it was effective in inviting people from all over the world to come across our border. We saw the numbers in the last 4 years on one of the charts. They exploded, absolutely exploded. And because it isn't just our hemisphere so overwhelmingly any longer, we have massively complicated every aspect of dealing with those illegal immigrants.
Senate hearing, Senator Joni Ernst painted a vivid picture. Picture this. Border wall panels worth over $250 million bought and paid for with your tax dollars just sitting in places like Arizona. Not installed, not used, just abandoned. And here's the kicker. They're being protected by a separate fence. Yes, the wall materials meant to secure the border are themselves being secured. That's the kind of irony that hits hard. Every month, the Army Corps of Engineers shells out $60,000 to store these unused panels, materials that could have bolstered national security but are now just collecting dust.
The border barriers work when the political will is behind those barriers to actually protect immigration law. The barrier itself, however tall you make it, people can get over. And if they get over and know they can stay, you might as well not put it up in the first place. But I will say that putting those barriers up strategically, intelligently, helps keep your Border Patrol agents safer. It helps them manage the illegal flows in ways that are more predictable, and thus they can respond to them better. You get more efficiency in your law enforcement, and you get more safety. And I know that's important to you and everyone on this committee. All of those folks are safer when they have the wall, when they have the road behind the wall, when the lights and the technology are in place that allow detection to take place out at a distance and allow your Border Patrol agents to respond effectively, efficiently, and not in a harried last minute sort of manner. They're safer and
thank
more
you.
effective.
Yes, thank you very much. And
Collecting dust.
eons ago,
And to make things worse, they were eventually auctioned off for pennies on the dollar. That's a massive loss for taxpayers, and Senator Ernst isn't the only one raising eyebrows. Former DHS officials argue that the abandonment wasn't just a logistical mistake, it was part of a broader open borders narrative. And it sent a message to cartels and traffickers: the U.S. isn't serious about enforcement. Walls alone don't stop illegal crossings, but they do help Border Patrol agents operate more safely and strategically, especially when paired with tech, roads, and proper infrastructure. When the Biden administration halted wall construction, it also paused installation of critical support systems like fiber optic cables, lighting, and roads. That's left agents operating in remote areas, often without communications.
Eons ago, I served as a military engineer, and part of the role of military engineers is to physically shape the battlefield and direct the flow of the enemy. I'm not saying that everyone coming to the border is an enemy, but you understand the illustration there. Yes, Mr. Arthur.
Senator Ernst, if I could, one, I'd note the fact that you and 39 of your colleagues sent a letter to the Comptroller General in March of 2021 about this. I disagree with the Comptroller General's opinion about the Impoundment Act. I think it was an impoundment. But the more important part of that is when we talk about the border wall, we talk about the border wall system. It's the wall and the roads and the lights and the fiber optic cable. When you're out in the middle of the desert, when you're far away from civilization, where much of the border is, Border Patrol agents can't just pull out their phone and use use cells because there's no cell tower. That fiber optic cable would have enabled them to actually communicate. When President Biden shut down the border wall system, he stopped the cable. The lights sit unhooked up. We literally leave our agents in the dark, blind, because we don't have those things. The quicker we can get that up and running, the better, the safer it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. I yield back. Thank you.
It's not just about physical barriers, it's about a system that was never completed. And now, law enforcement is left to do more with less. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I dive deep into issues the mainstream media skims over. So here's the real question: is this just government inefficiency or a deliberate decision that reflects a larger political agenda? Whatever your stance, the fact remains: millions in materials were wasted, border agents are under-equipped, and taxpayers are footing the bill for a wall that was never built. What do you think? Was this mismanagement or something more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And until next time, stay sharp and